Hello children, today we are going to discuss the summary of lesson 1 from Footprints Without Feet, and the name of the story is A Triumph of Surgery, and it is written by James Herriot. James Herriot was a British author who born on October 3rd, 1916 in England. Herriot's first book, If Only They Could Talk, was published in 1970, followed by It Shouldn't Happen to a Vet. This story is about Miss Pumphrey, a rich and emotional lady who had a cute pet called Tricky. She loved him very much and took proper care of the pet. Tricky had put on a lot of weight, which made him lethargic. When Dr. Herriot saw the fat dog like a bloated sausage, he was shocked. So let's start the summary of this story. The narrator of the story is Mr. Herriot. He is a veterinary surgeon. He was really worried about the dog. Its name was Tricky. The dog had become fat, its eyes had become red, its tongue came out from its jaws. It was in a state of disease. The mistress of the dog was Mrs. Pumphrey. She told Mr. Herriot that the dog seems to have no energy, so she gave it more malt and cod liver oil and a bowl of Horlicks. She also gave it some cream cakes and chocolates. Despite Herriot's refusal, it was a rich diet. After hearing it, Herriot looked at the dog again. Its big trouble was that it had become greedy. It did not refuse food. Herriot asked Mrs. Pumphrey if she had been giving the dog plenty of exercise. She said she had not. Herriot warned her. If she did not cut its food and gave it more physical exercise, it would be really ill. She said, "You are right, but it is very difficult for me to do so." Within next few days, Mrs. Pumphrey told Herriot that Tricky did not eat anything. It refused to eat even its favorite dishes. It spent all its time lying panting. The narrator had made his plan in advance. He suggested that Tricky should be hospitalized for about a fortnight. Mrs. Pumphrey was very disturbed. The doctor advised that Tricky should be kept under observation, so he should be hospitalized for a fortnight. The narrator took the dog in his car. Mrs. Pumphrey gave Tricky's belongings like bed cushions, toys, various bowls, coats, etc. At the hospital, Tricky looked down at other dogs. They sniffed around it and ignored it. The narrator kept an eye on Tricky for 2 days. He gave it plenty of water but no food. On the 3rd day, it started whimpering on seeing other dogs. It followed them down the garden. Later that day, the other dog had their food. When they had finished, Tricky walked around the bowls. He also licked them. It meant he was hungry. It was given some food. After 2 days, there was tremendous progress in Tricky. He was not given any kind of medical treatment. He started running behind other dogs and became an accepted member of the gang. Each time Mrs. Pumphrey was eager to know about his health. The doctor intimated her that Tricky was recovering rapidly. She was very much happy. After this, she started to bring round eggs to build up Tricky's strength. The narrator began giving Tricky's wine before and during the meal. The dog began to drink brandy also. Tricky now had 1 extra egg in the morning. It had wine at noon and brandy in the evening. After a fortnight, the narrator rang her up saying the dog was all right. After getting cured, the doctor phoned her to tell that Tricky had recovered well and was awaiting collection. Tricky was handed over to her. It was really an unbelievable movement for her. Mrs. Pumphrey was very much thankful to Dr. Herriot. She had no words to express her gratitude. Now, Tricky had become a hard-muscled animal. Seeing Tricky, tears were in her eyes and her lips trembled. At last, she told that this is a triumph of surgery. So this was the story about a triumph of surgery. I hope you understood the story very well, and now when you look at the questions of this lesson, it will be very easy for you to answer them all.